E360 TV proudly presents Messages of Inspirational Stories TV show. Live streaming now to millions of devices around the world on Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, Android TV, YouTube Live, Facebook live streaming. Our shows are available video on demand on these channels. And we broadcast daily, Monday through Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time on these channels. On Mondays, Expanding Your Business. Tuesdays, Finding Health Naturally. Wednesdays, Mentoring Our Youth. Thursdays, Pets We Love. And on Fridays, Women in Leadership. Brought to you by our producers and hosts, Jim Grant and Donna Guinois. Along with our host, Beata Severin Reed and Emerson Brantley. Supported by our admin team of Michaela Vidal and Gaia Guinois Balconi Hueda.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Messages of Inspirational Stories. We are so excited to be here today. Today is Thursday. Pets We Love, Jim, and today is something that is really kind of interesting. We are going to be talking about livestock guardian dogs.
Amen to that. And, ladies, I want to thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in today. Our show is proudly brought to you by the good guys at the 6minutewebinar.com and Mr. Bill Heinrich, our real good friend, The 7 Levels of Truth. His book is on Amazon, and Bill is just a great friend of ours. And this book here will help you find, what's going on in your life, because this book will open your eyes that you are entitled to enjoy the abundance of love. You're entitled to enjoy the abundance of joy and jubilee in your life. All this work and worry and all this aggravation and in-laws and outlaws and I don't know what all. You just love everything enough to let it go and not let it own you. And Donna, you too. You have a complimentary offer because you help find out what's blocking their energy. And I'd like for you to share that a little bit with the folks, if you would, please.
Yeah, it was my own journey, my own struggle through, it's a combination of multiple things, folks. It's people, places, and things. And so my journey was a struggle of, being a single mother that has three children, and then having severe health issues. I had a very nasty aneurysm behind my right eye in my internal right carotid. And the day I was going in to schedule my first of 3 brain surgeries, I also was hit with the news I have MS. So it was kind of a double whammy. And how do you go forward and deal with it? And it, spiraled. It took its time, but it spiraled, and it did hit me quite difficultly. So I went through a process, if you will, my own program of trying to find out where I was stuck and why. And that's how I came up, Jim, with, high energy performance coaching. And it's literally helping people get out of their energy and negativity, right? We get stuck and we can't see, unfortunately, where we're stuck because we're the ones in it, right? You're right in the middle of it. So going through and helping somebody, I absolutely love being able to help free people go forward with great energy. So I offer a free complimentary half-hour session to, help in whatever way I can in that half hour.
Yeah, just be sure and email Donna directly there at highenergyrightnow@gmail.com. And also Bill Heinrich, this is his website, True Life Purpose Now. If you want to have Bill give you a complimentary 30-minute consultation, no strings attached on either one. They're not going to put you on a mailing list or anything like that and try to sell you this, that, and the other. It's just simply a complimentary offer. It's there's no hooks, lines, or sinkers to it or anything like that. So Yeah, be sure and find out, because in talking to Donna and talking to Bill, and I've talked to both of them a lot, they can help you find what's blocking your positive energy,
Mhm.
what is keeping you, down in the dumps.
Right.
And, you know, the difference in me in the morning, I should do this every day, but I don't. I forget. But a lot of times, as soon as I wake up, I thank the Señor in the sky for the heartbeat in my veins, the breath in my lungs. I thank Him for my family, my friends, my health, my everything. The true things in life that money cannot buy, nor can any thief steal from you. But if you're blocked, if your positive energy is blocked by all this mumbo jumbo going on in life, it will keep you enslaved. And
It
you
will.
deserve that. You're entitled. That's your birthright. It really is. So, with that, I'll send you a $20 bill for that testimonial. I was talking to Bill.
Oh,
No,
goodness.
but sincerely, we are very excited because today, Donna, she came up with the brilliant idea of let's do some things about guardian dogs, dogs that protect their herds. What's their purpose?
Yes.
We also found a video clip that I cut into 3 sections, and it will show you what to do if you're out in an open range situation and guardian dog comes up. The guardian dog's not there to attack you. The guardian dog there is to protect its herd. That's what
Mhm.
they're trained for. Now they will attack you if you provoke them. But as long as you know what to do and how to do, and these video clips will share that. We'll play it during a show 3 different times. But anyway, I've talked enough, Donna. I'm gonna let you kick off the show, young lady.
Well, there's all different kinds of livestock guardian dogs out there. So,
Mhm.
Anatolian Shepherds are one. And of course, one that's near and dear to my heart is a Great Pyrenees.
Mhm.
They are a great family pet and guardian. The thing is about that I've learned in my years when Jake was with me was that even though Jake was not, let's see, he was not trained. Okay. He was
Mhm.
not trained as a livestock guardian. His background, his bloodline, it was there. His instincts
Mhm.
were so strong that without really um, knowing it, I honed in on what he was doing and would say, "Hey, Jake, no." That was as simple as when we were in Ohio, I had a couple of cats that liked to go into the blinds, and of course they'd bend the dadgum blinds, and it drove me crazy. And I'd be like, "Stop it, stop it, stop it," and they wouldn't. So finally, one day, I got really ticked off, and I'm like, "Jake, get the cat out of the blinds." Man, he was boom. He was up on the couch, and he literally put his nose underneath the cat, whom he loved. Grew up, he was a puppy, and the cats were all adults, so he loved the animals, the cats. But he pushed that cat out of the way, and the cat never went back in the window again.
Mm.
I mean,
That's really amazing.
it's as simple as that. As simple
Yeah,
as
it really is. And Donna, it really amazes me when you watch your animals interact with each other. We have our grand puppy living with us, and my granddaughter says, when asked about her dog, whose name is Bella, uh, she is a cross between now picture this. She's not a mutt, she's a designer breed. You know the difference between a mutt and a designer breed? About
about
$800 or more.
right about $800.
Yeah. She was crossed by a male dash hound and a female chow. So she's got that very unique look to her. She's got the what I call the greyhound bus body, because she'll block my way. I said, "Get that greyhound bus body out of the way, girl." But anyway, when I let her out, our cat Dixie Those of you who's followed the show, you've seen little Dixie, and many times she wants to get up here like, okay, who are you talking to? You know,
Right.
but it's amazing how she keeps an eye on Bella. And when Bella comes in, she sniffs her out, checks her over. And they like to play, smack, and, Dixie will smack at her, playful. And then Bella try to catch her. But Bella's an old dog. We don't know how old she was. They first got her back in 2008, and they figured she was a year and a half old then.
Right.
And so my daughter, when they asked about Bella, says, "Oh, she's in a retirement home." And her friend says, "I didn't know they had those now." You
Right.
do if you have a mom and dad, you can put them in the retirement home. But because she's works, she's a single mom, a widow, and she just said, it's kind of a shame for Bella to be in the house all day long by herself. And she had
Right.
it kind of the way it happened. A friend came over that Bella did not like. And so Lisa brought her up to stay with us while her friend was staying with her because she was going through a transition in her life, living there. And it just so happened that it just so happened that she became our resident pup. So, which is
Well,
a wonderful thing.
it is. And the other thing I think it's important to talk about briefly, Jim, is
Mhm.
whether you have a breed that comes from livestock guardians or
Mhm.
just a regular dog. They are all
Yeah.
instinctual in protecting their family, their pack.
Yes. Yes,
I
they
mean,
are.
we're talking even little chihuahuas that are,
Mhm.
a half a
Teacup
second
size.
big. Yeah, right. So that's really important. But the important thing is like when I had Jake, I knew all dogs can have a tendency to be resource guarding with food.
Mhm.
And I think, at least for me, I mean, and I think most people would agree, the one of the worst things you can have is a dog that resource guards over food because you never know when
Oh,
they're going
yeah.
to, right?
Mhm.
So I worked like crazy with him, but always made it a game. And that's important. In the
Mhm.
research I have done, that it's always important to never punish the dog, but to make
Mhm.
it fun, to reward
Mhm.
them, to make it happy. Right.
Oh, yeah.
So I always made a game of him eating, put the food down, I'd take it away from him and then give him one and go, oh, that's a good boy, and he was just a little teeny guy. And it, even full grown, right up until the end, I could put a piece of chicken or steak, it didn't matter what it was, on my lips where it barely stuck out, maybe a quarter of an inch. And that dog never, ever, ever hurt me, ever. He would as
Mm.
gently take that as, in fact, what would get me the most was his whiskers would tickle. His dadgum whiskers because he was so gentle, and they'd come up and they would just tickle the crap out of my face.
Yeah, I tell you, it's a wonderful thing. And for all of us that's lost pets in the past, we know what a painful experience that is. And our love for them will be eternal. And rest assured, ladies and gentlemen, pets, they will never, that when they die, they just die like a human, but their spirit goes on to a better place. It really, truly does. And I have that's not me saying it. I found that in the Bible and other places, and it's just a fact because we're made in the image of our Creator. If He loves everything, well, if He loves our dogs just like we love them, so why would He? He'd want to bring them home because He wants to bring us home. And
Right?
Donna, a good question here is that why obedience training for livestock guardian dogs so important? And the two main reasons for that, number one is safety. They need to be
Absolutely.
obedience trained for safety. And when you talk about safety, you're talking about, having them to be safe around strangers, having them to be safe all the way around, you know,
Right. Around
and
around themselves, around
mhm,
yourself, your littles,
they're their herd,
maybe
your
you're
family, and be
absolutely.
be obedient to your commands so they'll
Yes.
understand what it is that you want them not to do. And the
Right.
second thing that's really important in obedience training is having them bond. Oh my
Yes.
goodness, that is so critical because the herds that they protect, the herds know this dog is here to protect us. That's that bonding thing. And if it's okay with you, I'd like to share a little video that I found.
Oh, absolutely. We love
And
video.
this is going to give you some good pointers about how you should react and the way the dog is going to react to you. If you're out in the open range and someone has their herd out there of sheep or cattle or whatever, and a guardian dog comes up, pay close attention. We'll be right back right after this brief little video clip.
An excursion in the Alps, suddenly interrupted by a loose and apparently aggressive dog. When they try to pass by, it reacts even more aggressively. The reason? This dog protects a flock of sheep. It's a livestock guardian dog. What seems cute also has a purpose. These puppies are trained to become livestock guardian dogs. More precisely, they're bred for this role. They're already born among the sheep and the goats. They grow up in a herd, develop mutual trust with the owner, and after 2 to 3 months start their training. In summer or autumn, they'll be introduced to a large flock of sheep. We expect them to protect the herd reliably and observe what happens around it. A large part of such protective behavior is instinctive. The livestock guardian dog is an integral member of the flock. Its job is to fend off natural predators. Wolves and bears are returning to Switzerland. Lynxes were reintroduced decades ago. Instead of requiring the immediate eradication of wolves and bears, flock owners rely more and more on guardian dogs. I work with livestock guardian dogs because it's a natural way of protecting my sheep against predators. Nature gives us what we need to protect our herds. It's also nature that brought the wolf back here. Today there are some 200 active guardian dogs in Switzerland, and the number is bound to grow. This leads to situations similar to the one we saw at the beginning of the clip.
That is really something, isn't it?
It really is. They're very intelligent
Mhm.
livestock guardian dogs, and understanding that, um, especially if you see two dogs, because we all know that there's wild dogs that are running in packs that are mean. I'm just going to be say it what it is. They're mean. They run and they kill and they destroy. But when a dog sits there and barks at you and barks at you and barks at you like that, without
Mhm.
ever really being aggressive in that way, understanding that that is the dog's language. That's his language of saying, this is my job. And when there's
Mhm.
two of them, understanding too that if you're in that kind of area where people have animals, their herds, that's a livelihood. It
Mhm.
depends on it. And
Oh yeah.
they're not gonna have a herd of sheep or goats or whatever it is, cows, where there's only one dog, because one
Mm-mm.
dog is not enough. So they're usually, depending on the size of the herd that
Mhm.
they have, they're going to have multiple dogs.
Oh yeah. And I noticed in that video clip when the dogs were barking, the sheep were not concerned until the two dogs started running closer and the sheep
Right.
kind of moved away. And then the rear dog turned and looked at the sheep to make sure they were okay.
Hmm.
And then went on to the whatever they were going to confront. And
Right.
in the other videos, it will also show you how you as a human should react whenever you encounter a livestock dog that's a guardian dog.
Right.
And I tell you, the obedience training that they go through, the bonding that we talked about, you could see there how they grow up and they just instinctively know,
Hmm.
due to their DNA and their bloodline, that they're going to be protectors of these sheep. The sheep know them. They know,
Right.
they know the sheep, and it's or the livestock, whatever the herd is. And
Right.
that's part of that bonding that's very, very important.
Right. So, traditionally, livestock guardian dogs were never left out with their animals to work solely independently. In fact, most of the breeds require extensive human interaction for their mental health. They crave a bond with their caretaker. Uh, what's that mean in terms of obedience training? It means that
Mhm.
despite the fact that the livestock guardian dog breeds are highly intelligent and they are problem solvers, that they can be trusted to protect your livestock when you're not around, but they also
Mhm.
crave your presence, your partnership, and your approval. And this
Mhm.
actually makes them very susceptible to training because,
Mhm.
again, they're pack animals.
Yeah, because when you hear the word obedience, a lot of people think that obedience training means that you're going to teach that dog to obey you because you're in charge. And this is not the approach we should have when we're training dogs, because these folks
Right.
here are experts at it, and they talk about it's a partnership training, communication training, which would be more accurately described as the approach that you want to take. You aren't
Hmm.
really teaching your dog to do what you want. Rather, you're teaching your dog how to work with you at the same time.
Right.
And so you're both training each other. That's the pack mentality. And we see that a lot because in every animal, whether it's cows or sheep or anything, whether going to the barn or whatever, there's groups, they call them A, B, C, and D, and I should have looked up on that a little bit more. But the core of the herd is always in the middle,
Right.
and that's to protect them. And that's
Right.
just their instinct. That's not,
The most
there's,
vulnerable ones are going to always be in the middle,
yeah, yeah,
right? So the
exactly.
mamas, the pregnants, the babies,
The
that kind of
ones
thing.
that can keep the breed going, and the weaker ones, they'll be kind of like around on the outside and the back. And then you got the ones that lead the way and kind of like clear the brush or whatever, clear the way, the pathfinders, you might say. But it really is amazing to me as we looked into this topic and we did our research and homework on it. These dogs are really, they're in a true partnership, not only with the animals, but with the humans,
Right.
because it's
Right.
all the same environment, safety
Absolutely.
and obedience,
Well,
protection.
and it's absolutely. And the thing is that people make a mistake um, when they claim that their livestock guardian dogs are hard to train. They're actually showing that they didn't know how to train them, that they're not making the training fun for the dogs, or
Hmm.
they're not willing to try different things. So the dogs get bored or disinterested.
Hmm.
Also, the other thing, a lot of people will jump and not do obedience training and try and jump straight into training their dogs with livestock. So I I can tell you for a fact that anybody who's ever had a Great Pyrenees knows how damn stubborn they are. They are one
Say
of the
what
most
you really mean there, Donna. Just
no,
go ahead.
they are so stubborn. But if you don't have obedience training and that relationship with your dog, if your dog is ever going to be in a situation where it could really get hurt and you've not done your obedience training and have that connection with your livestock guardian dog,
Mhm.
then your dog may get hurt or you may get
Yeah.
hurt or both. That
One of
is
the
crucial.
Oh, yeah. And one of the things these people point out that I'd never really thought about But whether you're training a dog just for a family pet, the principles are the same.
Yes.
It really is. And they say here, and I'm just going to share this with you because they said it better than I could. You train your dogs what to do, not what not to do. And you want to give them positive reinforcements. You don't train them by making them want to do the things that you're asking, and you never use force, you never use punishment,
No.
and you never use shame. And that is one thing that I fell into the trap of when the dog didn't do what I want to do. Shame on you. And
Right.
that is wrong on all fronts because that's not building that. Like they said, you're training the dog, but the dog is also training you because that's an
Right.
individual personality you're dealing with.
Well, you're breaking down the dog's bonding
Yeah, you really are.
when you shame them. So it's sort of
Mhm.
like, I guess I would equate it no differently than when you're potty training, your toddler. And
Mhm.
instead of saying, good job, almost there, yay.
Mhm.
If every time they had an accident, you yelled at them and told them how horrible they were, that they, didn't make it to the potty in time, it would just
Mhm.
deflate them. Well, it's the same thing
Yeah.
with a dog.
One of the things that I've heard say about the Great Pyrenees, and I know a guy's got a couple of them, he says, I have to be careful because if I raise my voice to them, I hurt their feelings, is what he said, because they're
That
very,
is a
very,
fact.
they're intuitive to you.
That
And
is such a
they
fact.
they crave your love. They crave your praise. They crave your appreciation.
Mhm,
And all you got to do is withdraw that
mhm.
without being forceful or mean or shaming them or punishing them. And they go like, "Hey, I don't like that." So they'll be smart enough to connect the dots and say, "I'm not going to do that anymore because I'm not getting the love and appreciation." You know.
Right.
And Donna,
Jake hated.
you've lived with the great Pyrenees for many, many years. He was your sidekick, Jake was,
Yeah.
and he's always part of your heart. Always
He
part of your heart.
he was so in tune with me and I with him that God forbid if I raised my voice at him, but he didn't like it if I raised my voice and when my children, were younger and lived at home, if I was irritated with one of my kids or, oh gosh, like I'm probably the only mother out there who had teenagers who would raise their voices to where you had to yell so you could be heard, right? And even not even in anger, if I raised my voice just to be heard, he'd be like this. He
Yeah,
did not like it. He did not like it.
yeah.
But I will say this too. Jake knew the difference. He knew the difference between when I was just irritated, at something or when I was in alarm. He
Hmm.
absolutely knew the difference.
I used to play jokes on my Australian cattle dogs. I love those dogs, and those folks out there that's been around them and all that, they know what little characters they are. Yeah, very smart dogs. Of course, I don't. I think every dog has a certain degree of intelligence. Maybe certain breeds have a little more, but I used to play a joke. I would walk into the room, and I used to have an expression on my face like this, and immediately they would kind of like, "Uh-oh." But if I'd smile and say, "How you boys doing today? Yippee! It's Jubilee time." And
Hmm.
they all animals crave your love.
Yep.
I don't care what it is. They crave your. Now cats will demand it. Okay, a whole different show. We're not going to go down that street. But dogs crave your love, your praise, and if they do something wrong, all you got to do is just withdraw from them, and they hate that. That is their life. Part of their life's blood is to have your
Right.
love and your praise, and to know that they are pleasing you because you're part of their pack. You're part
Sure.
of their family, and
And
they don't
and the
don't they don't like to fuss and fight. They really don't.
no, no. And the more in tune and the more you work with your dog, the safer everyone's going to
Mhm.
be. right? And in
Yeah.
understanding it. So, it's kind of interesting. So it says, um, when people, oops, I read that part. I'm sorry.
Mhm.
The LGDs need obedience training for two main reasons, of course, is the safety and the bonding.
Mhm.
So understand that usually livestock guardian dog are big. Okay.
Mhm.
So they're going to be anywhere between 110 pounds up to
Mhm.
maybe 200 pounds.
Yeah, they have to be. Yeah.
Exactly.
Mhm.
So if you do not have that obedience training with your dog,
Mhm.
then that dog will just bowl you over. And I
Mhm.
can tell you, Jake was not huge. He was not as big as his dad. He only weighed about 90 pounds. And when he was younger, we played rough. Don't misunderstand me. I mean, it was all out with Jake and I. And I would do this thing where I would, jump up and go "Arr," like that, and that meant game on. So he'd get all excited and jump right at my face, and we'd wrestle. I cannot tell you how many pair of glasses that dog flattened. And I do mean flattened. I mean plain squished to where, you try and open it up and they were crooked like this, the bows going this way. So they are big and they are powerful. And he was only at about 90 pounds.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
honestly, the power these dogs have is unbelievable. So
Oh,
being
yeah.
safe for them,
Yeah.
for yourself is number
Mhm.
one.
It really is. And I'd like to go ahead. I want to share one quote that this gentleman made. The guy's name is Zach, Z-A-K George. He's a dog training
Yeah.
professional revolutionist. And he made a very important comment here. And I'm going to share this with you. It says, if you want long term, meaningful results with your dog, we're talking about a family dog now, okay, as well as a guardian dog. But if you want long term, meaningful results with your dog, your goal, listen up, it should be not to make your dog do something, but to make your dog want to do something on their own. That's
Right.
powerful, isn't it, Donna?
It is. It is.
And
Absolutely.
I like to play the second video here as we get more into what you should do if you ever encounter, if you're out hiking or whatever. And we got another video here we'll play in a few minutes, but just play close attention to this.
Hikers or cyclists meet a livestock guardian dog that defends its herd. In such situations, it's important to follow some rules. If a livestock guardian dog approaches you barking, stay calm. If you're a cyclist, get down from your bicycle. The livestock guardian dog cannot be chased away. It defends its flock as long as it feels danger. If the livestock guardian dog does not calm down, even though you're behaving in a kind manner, then start to back off. As soon as you're far enough from the flock, it will stop barking and only watch you. If it's standing there quietly or withdrawn, pass by slowly at a safe distance from the herd. If the animals are scattered and it's impossible to go around the herd, try to pass through without disturbing the animals. If the dog does not allow it, then go back. If you walk through the herd, the livestock guardian dog will follow you. Remount your bicycle only once you're at least 50 meters away from the flock. Livestock guardian dogs react more aggressively towards predators or dogs than towards humans. It is strongly advised against bringing along dogs if you go to regions with herds that are being protected by livestock guardian dogs. If you nonetheless meet a protected herd, put a leash on your dog. Never try to cross a protected herd with a dog, but rather go around it from a distance. In case of doubt, turn around.
That's some
Very,
good advice there. I like that because the very first thing it teaches you or shares with you there is that if you do encounter a livestock guardian dog, first thing you want to do is remain calm
right.
because the dog is reading your body language. They're picking up on your energy. They got these senses that we will never understand in this life.
Right.
And they are they just slowly back away, and that's telling the dog, I'm not here for your herd. I'm
Right.
no threat to you or the herd. And they'll just stand there. And, and that's very important about people to have a dog with them on a trail or out there.
Well, and if I can say something else, Jim, a lot of times
Sure.
when we're out hiking, when people are out hiking, they're wearing a hat, they're wearing sunglasses. Take them off,
Hmm.
because I can tell you for a fact that there are dogs. My boy was like this. He was not a big keen person on men. Okay. And even my own son had
Hmm.
come back from, he had stayed in Washington for a while and came back to Ohio. And he was coming up the stairs, and Jake was quite young still, just a little over a year old. And he had on a pair of sunglasses and a hat. And he was coming upstairs, and Jake was at the top of the stairs, and he wouldn't let him pass.
Mm.
And his timbre in his voice was different. And Josh yelled, "Hey, Mom, what the hell's wrong with Jake?" Because he didn't really know Jake at that time. He
Hmm.
wasn't reared with him when Jake was a pup. And I walked by and I said, "Oh, take off your hat and your sunglasses. He'll let you pass, no problem." And he
Hmm.
did. And Jake's tail was wagging like, "Hey, how you doing?"
Hmm. Yeah.
So there's
Because,
something about it. They want to be able to read you.
yeah, they want to see your eyes. That's why I remember one time I was around a tiger and my son was going to pet the tiger and get his picture taken. And they told us, do not look at the tiger's eyes because a tiger will consider that a threat.
Right.
And that's why dogs want to see your eyes to see whether or not you're glaring mad or you're flared up or something, because that is one of the ways how they read you, your true intentions. And that's an interesting story there because also too, but a hat and sunglasses. How many people you see wear a hat and sunglasses? You don't even recognize them, and you know them.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
that's a good story. I'm glad you shared that.
So,
And go ahead.
well, I was just going to say, in this article that we had found, one of the reasons is so important to have that obedience training with your dog
Mhm.
is if they do not back off and they're in a situation. So, in this case, it talks about a Great Pyrenees versus a bull moose on the Yukon River in Alaska, that it was unnecessarily taking on a bull moose against its owner's wishes. It could have been really, really bad. Same, there was another one where it's a Great Pyrenees and a Akabash. It scared a bear up a tree, and the bear's trying to get away, but the dogs weren't going to let him go, despite their owner commanding it. So,
Mm.
one of the recall is one of the huge things in obedience training. That
Mhm.
when you say come or let go, whatever your commands are, that dog comes back to you for the
Mhm.
safety of everybody and everything involved.
Mhm. And it's also very important for in the training of behavior problems, particularly with livestock guardian dogs. One of the things they talk about, one of the first things they talk about is barking. And you want to train your dogs to bark less or stop barking whenever you them to stop barking. And that is important because dogs can get revved up.
Right.
We've got some people live over across the way there, and they have a whole bunch of pups. And one of them gets a barking, the rest of them get barking. They get all revved up and they get emotionally out of control. I don't know what's going on over there, but it creates a lot of chaos, and it also rattles the herd because if the owner says it's okay, calm down, you
Right.
know, and that brings to mind one of the things that a police officer once told a group of people. This was back in the 80s. I attended a little meeting, I'd call it, not really a seminar. And he was talking about one of the biggest problems with having a dog in the house. If it barks at night, the owner automatically tells it to hush.
Right. Shut up.
Don't do that.
Oh, I have
Go
to
ahead.
interject.
Go
My
ahead.
daughter did that. My youngest
Mhm.
daughter, when I got Jake, and she'd get
Mhm.
mad because Great Pyrenees are known for barking, right? They'll bark
Mhm.
and bark and bark. And Jake, honestly, he wasn't that bad. He didn't bark a whole lot. And I kept saying, "Don't say that." And she's like, "Why? He needs to shut up." And I'm like, "No, you need to because he's doing his job."
Mhm.
And I had to explain that to her
Mhm.
because if he's barking, there's a reason for it.
Yes.
And there's
Yes.
a
Yes.
way, I would tell him, I would never tell him, shut up. I would
Mm-mm.
say, good boy, Jake. Now leave it. It's good.
Mhm.
Now leave it. It's good.
Everything's okay.
And right. And then that would be
Yeah.
like, oh, okay. I don't have to
Yeah.
bark anymore.
Yeah. Because this police officer was talking about one of the things that a criminal once said. I never worry about dogs if I'm sneaking into a house at night because if the dog starts barking, the owner will tell it to shut up. And it's very, very true. And so that sends a very confusing mixed signal
Yep.
to the dog. I'm supposed to protect my household and my
Right.
family.
But you're telling me to shut up.
Yeah, yeah. And it's just amazing how, uh, criminals are very fast on picking up on stuff and
Right.
knowing what their limitations are. And whenever you have a dog that I knew a lady one time, she had a recording. I don't know how she had it set up, but if because she lived alone, and if somebody rang the doorbell, that recording would start off like there's a junkyard dog barking on the other side of
Right.
that door. Like this thing hadn't been fed in probably a month and it wants you for lunch. And,
Oh,
that's a barking dog to a person that's coming to your house, an
hmm.
unwanted person for evil, wicked means and ways in their mind. A
It's a
barking dog is
beautiful thing.
that's the last thing they want to hear.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And Donna, before we run out of time, I want to play that third clip right quickly, if I may.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
Please.
Yeah. And let me find it here. And this here is on the same video that we found, but this here kind of wraps everything up.
If it sees a predator, for example, it tries to chase it away by barking loudly and with all its strength. Most of the time, it succeeds. Wild animals do not risk a fight in which they will most probably lose a lot of energy and perhaps even their lives. What we expect from the dog is that it's alert and not aggressive towards humans. If a predator appears, it will protect its herd. If people behave like the information sign suggests, then there will be no problems. This does not mean that unpleasant encounters will not occur. People who are afraid of dogs in particular should always try to avoid an encounter. All areas with Livestock Guardian Dogs are marked on an online map on herdenschutzschweiz.ch. This map will help you to plan your tour. By following these rules, you're not only contributing to your own safety, but also to the herds in the Alps. Their existence depends on the effective protection by these trained dogs.
I just had to include the tail end of that with the mountains and all that. So beautiful. But in that particular video, one of the things that it taught about there in Switzerland is that there are maps online where you can go and do your research. And here in
Right.
the United States, I would highly advise you to search online and find out open range areas, and then find out whether or not there are ranchers that have cattle or sheep or goats, whatever it might be, if they allow their herds to forage in those free range areas, because if they do, they're going to have dogs. And you want to make sure it's best, because it's just, it saves a lot of dangerous situations, because those dogs, they're there to protect that herd.
Absolutely.
And they're not there to be friends with you. They don't want to be petted by you. And if you got your dog with them, that is automatically a fight, because like that showed in the video there with the coyote just kind of like went away from the barking, because he's an animal, and animals only want to start a fight that they think they can win.
Right.
If they think they can't win, there's too much energy there's too much of a risk, I'll go elsewhere.
Right.
It's kind of like the old saying, you can start a fight with anybody you want to, but you better know who you're starting a fight with, because you might get whooped.
Well, and with Livestock Guardian Dogs, they are, especially in areas, if cattle are, they can be obviously killed by bears and whatnot.
Oh, yeah.
But they have a better chance, shall we say, than say sheep. So sheep, goats, that kind of thing, they almost always have LGS. And the reason that those dogs there's at least 2 or more, is if they have to go after a mountain lion or a bear or something, they're going to need at least 2 of them to take it on. And it's not uncommon for them to be hurt, but it's also not uncommon for them to kill the predator either.
Yeah, exactly.
They take it very serious. A good livestock guardian dog is worth its weight in gold.
Oh, yeah. And I've known ranchers out there in Arizona. I lived out there, knew a few of them, and they had dogs, even way back in the 70s and 80s. And the dogs were there, for one thing, to be a guardian dog. They may not have been trained to this particular standard, but they knew that the dog's barking, something's going on.
Right.
And dogs have a unique way of, they bark when they want to play. They bark a different bark when they're warning you about something. And I imagine you've got a couple of stories about Jake, because I know when you went, I can't going to play, his bark was a little bit different than if someone come up and knocked on the door. Huh?
Right. He would play with the cats, and he'd have a timbre in his voice. And I can tell you one time, and there was nothing untoward happening, but I had a police officer had come to my house in Ohio, and Jake had seen a huge picture window in the living room, and Jake had seen him through the window, and he was coming in the house, and I said, well, just a minute, let me put my dog up. And it made him nervous. It made the cop nervous. And he's like, okay, good. Yeah. And I put him in my room, and Jake was going absolutely, and there was no yelling. There was nothing untoward, right? And Jake was going absolutely nuts in my room, because he was in a uniform, and it was a male, and Jake did not like males a whole lot. But he was hitting the door so damn hard that the cop actually asked me, is he going to bust through that door? And I said, well, I don't know. I hope not.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. How good are you at swinging from the chandelier?
Right. How quick can you get out of my house and not shoot my dog?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, goodness.
Because it's amazing how, I know that Norwegian elk hounds, they use them for hunting, and the hunters who use those dogs, they can train those dogs to bark like, hey, I'm after something, and they have a different bark when I've got this something treed, whatever it might be. And it's just amazing. And then they had another bark to say, "Hey, I've turned this thing around. It's coming at you, so get ready."
Right. Well,
That's true story, folks.
and understanding that when you're training a dog, whether it's your, in this case it's livestock guardian dogs, you have to have like understanding that if your dog has learned how to say sit on your porch, they've mastered that skill and they don't leave until you call them. You want to still work on that skill, but you want to do it in a different setting.
Yes.
And that's important, because if you maybe take your dog out and put them in a field and ask them to sit the same way you did on the porch, but that dog might not be able to do it. So you need to teach her that the commands are not dependent on where they're at in that setting, but on you and where you're at. That command goes through all the way. And if it's not working, the other thing that they talk about is if you're feeling frustrated when you're working with your dog, take a break.
Yeah.
Take a couple of days off. Be patient with your dogs and be patient with yourself. So, I always like to say this in shows: give yourself grace, give your dog grace, right?
Amen. Absolutely.
It takes consistency and follow through, and lots of encouragement and love to have success in training an animal.
Oh, yeah, because the principles are the same, whether you're training a livestock guardian dog or if you're training a dog to be a lap dog in your house. The principles are the same, because their DNA is to belong to a pack. You're a member of their pack. And I got to tell you something funny about Range. I think I've mentioned this on a previous show, but when we would drive up, the very first thing he would do is jump up, run in the backyard, and he'd raise all kind of sand. And the second thing, my wife used to get upset with him, and he would see her when she's out, doing something in the yard. She's walking down to the woods or something like that. He didn't like that.
Right.
He'd run up there because blue heelers are known to be nippers. They nip at the heels. Anyway, he would nip her hand and try to pull her back. And Range, she'd get upset with him. And but he wanted to pull her back to safety because since he was a male dog and she was a female, he felt like, he never nipped at my hands. He figured, well, if he's dumb enough to go out there and, something happened to him, he'll learn. But he'd run up there, and nip her hand, and run in front of her and bark, to clear the way. Yeah. And I've seen videos of dogs. I've never seen one in person, but I've seen videos of dogs that will go up to a toddler and gently get them by the arm and start pulling them back to safety. And
I've not witnessed that myself, but I have witnessed my dog with our grandson between the pool. And this is what's so funny is my dog hated water. He hated water. He loved the snow, as he's Arctic, but he hated water. And he would be between the pool and our grandson and start slowly, very slowly pushing Jeff toward,
wedging him back.
Yep. Right toward the grass, out of the pool, off of the pool decking. And, honestly, if he had fallen in the water, and I know because Jake did fall in the water and he, thank God, didn't drown. But he didn't like the water. And so I ended up getting him out when he fell in the pool. And had he fallen in the pool then, I would have had to go in and help pull him out. So he was protecting him, even though he couldn't stand water and knew that he could fall in.
And he was never trained for that, was he?
No. Very instinctual.
That's that instinct.
Yep.
That's that instinct. Yeah. And praising a dog for doing something is instinctual. That's the right thing to do. That just solidifies everything. Absolutely. The bonding, the blessed assurance that they look for, because dogs just want to know that they are pleasing you. They're in you. And Donna, ours is just about gone, isn't it?
I know it is. It is. That's sad. But, you know, understand that, guys, if you want to train your dog, there's lots of videos out there. There's lots of
Yes.
information out there. Look it
Mhm.
up, read, you know, these people who are experts take their time to help
Mhm.
us who aren't in the everyday know of it, how to have a better successful training session with our household dogs, our family
Mhm.
dogs, or our livestock guardian dogs.
Absolutely. And if you'd like to email us, you can reach us here at the TV station, inspiration at e360tv.com. And ladies and gentlemen, we want to thank Donna and I both want to thank you for tuning in today, because we realize you could be watching any other show, but you
Yep.
chose to watch us. And thank you so very much for that. We really do appreciate it. And I'm watching Bella and Dixie do the Tigerito here in the studio. They're playing back and forth. But be sure and love yourself first. That is your birthright. And then you can love others and love them enough to forgive them and let them go, and love yourself enough so that you will be wise enough when you make a mistake or something to do what Donna always likes to say to do. Be sure and give yourself.
Plenty of grace, folks.
Amen. Yeah. Don't be so hard on yourself. We all make mistakes. And ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back tomorrow with the, women in leadership, and Viet is going to be joining us. And I think if you and Don are going to be doing the show, I'm not sure. But we're looking so forward to each and every day bringing you good quality programs. And we want to thank you for tuning in. Be sure and, let us know. Get in touch with us if you have any question on anything. If you want the complimentary consultations, get in touch with us. We'll make sure Donna or Bill gets with you. And anything we can do to make your life better, that's why we're here. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.